This is John Hope Bryant, and this is the Money and Wealth podcast series on the Black Effect Network on the iHeart platform. And this is a serious conversation about professional athletes and those who want to be a professional athlete. This is not me picking on anybody. The examples I'm going to give as I walk you through what happens when you're not financially literate and you don't take this seriously as a business, a trade, a career, a profession, and you're one shot to get the rest of your life completely right. It is 3, 5, maybe 10 years to set up 30, 50, as much as, 70 additional years of your life. If you live to 90, 80, 90, or 100, this is gonna have to last you. This sort of gladiator sense, that this Superman sense that I'm gonna be okay, has gotten a lot of people in a lot of trouble because it's not, they're not gonna be okay. 60 to 70% of all professional athletes in the NFL and the NBA. I'm talking about, by the way, tennis. I'm talking about black and white, by the way, black people and white people. From all racial, socioeconomic situations. I'm talking about immigrants and non-immigrants. I'm talking about all sports: hockey, football, baseball, basketball, tennis, everything. Right, the same examples apply. While there's some good news here, 60 to 70% of all professional athletes from NFL and NBA file for bankruptcy and/or are broke within 5 years after retirement. And I hate to say it, typically their wives leave. They end up in bankruptcy and with a broken marriage, because the party is over. Now, I encourage you guys and ladies to watch a documentary series that sort of inspired me to do this. I've been thinking about this for a long time, and Operation Hope is a partner with the NFL on one of their programs that helps with financial fluency in communities, and they're supported by the NFL. And Financial Literacy for All involves both the commissioner of the NBA and the NFL. I know they're deeply concerned about this. Roger Goodell is a friend of mine. I know he's deeply concerned about this. My friend Tony Ressler, a business partner, owns the Atlanta Hawks. I know he's very deeply concerned about this. But they can't force somebody to not be intoxicated with their success and force them to focus on right decision making in their lives. And there's other people who don't want you to focus on right decision making because they want to separate you from your wallet. I want you to watch this Netflix show, Broke. I want you to pick up this book, Financial Literacy for All, which is a national bestseller in the country. USA Today number 1 nonfiction, number 12 overall when it came out. Publishers Weekly saying it was a top nonfiction book, still number 1 on Amazon in several categories, business, economics, etc. In the world. Financial Literacy for All. This is the primer I want you to open up and talk about with your family every week in sort of a kitchen table economic conversation. And certainly if you have kids that want to go and be professional athletes, I want them to understand that this is the business of sports. It's the sports business. And you are the head of this corporation. And if you don't realize it, people are going to separate you from the money that you may get. The money has to last you for the rest of your life. Okay, let's get into this. This is about money. It's about going broke and building wealth in pro sports and/or. Let me give you one success story off the top, because unfortunately a lot of these examples I'm about to give you are not very positive. And my middle name's Hope, but I can't make this stuff up. But this is the facts of the matter, and I really need those who love those who want to be professional athletes. And I encourage you to pursue your dreams, whatever it is. I pursued mine. If you want to be a professional athlete, fantastic. But I want you to go into this with your eyes wide open. So parents, sit your children down. Young people, send your friends down. Aspiring high school, college, athletes, sit yourself down. Girlfriend, sit your boyfriends down. Boyfriend, sit your girlfriends down. Everybody sit down and listen to this. Give this to somebody. Encourage them to take less than an hour to save pain for the rest of their life. Good news. My brother Reggie Jackson, who we know as Mr. October, played a very successful hand in the major baseball leagues, Major League Baseball, and is incredibly successful as a businessman. And I went and cut the ribbon to his most recent car dealership that he opened here in the Southeast. I believe it was a Honda dealership, if I'm not mistaken, with a great partner, a great brand, and is doing extraordinarily well. And he's made more money, really much more outside of professional sports than he did inside. And I can give other examples of that, but I want you to now listen very carefully. Whew. You gotta laugh to keep from crying here. And I'm not laughing at any of these people. I'm not making fun of them. In fact, some of these are tragic stories. This is the facts. Once the glamour and the glitz is washed away, here is the reality of being a professional athlete, a gladiator at the top of your game. This podcast is for every high school student or family of sane who aspire to become a professional athlete. Ricky Henderson got a $1 million check. And when he got this check, the league realized after several weeks that it hadn't been cashed. So they were concerned. So the league got a hold of Ricky's manager, and then Ricky's manager got a hold of him and said, "What's going on? Are you okay? What happened? Did you get the check?" "Yes, I got the $1 million check." "What happened to it? Why didn't you cash it?" "Well, I framed it," he said. He framed it. The original check. Never cashed it. Now, if you walk in my office, I have a $1 million check on my wall from Henry Kravis. It was a $1 million check he gave to me over breakfast for my philanthropy, Operation Hope. And I was very thankful for it. I'm very proud of it. And I made a color copy of that check after I cashed it. What's on the wall, if you want to go break in my office and take it off the wall, knock yourself out. That's a color copy. You'll go to jail for fraud as you try to go to the bank and get into to cash it. By the way, do you know that a check is not nearly necessarily a check? You know that you can write routing numbers and a checking account number on the back of a T-shirt, walk it into a bank, and technically they have to cash a T-shirt. Now they probably won't for a lot of reasons, security, whatever, but technically that anything that you have the proper information on can be a form of a payment. It doesn't have to be a physical check. That's just a structured way of transferring your money from one person to another, yours to somebody else. But you can write a check on anything, again, including on the back of your T-shirt if you have the right information. That's just a fun fact. But Ricky Henderson needed financial literacy. Magic Johnson, here's a positive story. Magic Johnson made more money off the field, and really the first pro athlete to do this. He made $6 million in 1989 away from the court. I know him not very well. We're friendly with each other. And so I'm not boosting for him. I'm just saying the brother deserves credit where credit is due. He has built a business empire off the court that is to be admired. And somebody who I've become friendly with, Alex Rodriguez, is actually mirrored Magic Johnson's approach. So when Magic Johnson was playing, when he first signed up, he would find the people who had the front row seats on at the games. He'd go in his uniform and befriend them. And when he found out the ones that were business leaders, he asked them for their card, would call them the next day and said, "Can I come see you for breakfast or lunch?" Of course, they would say yes. They idolize the Magic Johnson, and that's why they were there at the game. Well, he wanted an audience with them so he could learn about business. And you need to know that a lot of my famous friends in the arts and professional sports and music, people want to be them. They want to be a business person. They're calling me, asking me for advice because they understand It's the music business. It's the business of sports. It's the business of music, etc. And this is what I want you to really get your hands around, is that Magic Johnson went, and as soon as he had that door open as a professional athlete, immediately used the credibility to get himself into the doors of the business people, so he can understand how to not just to make some money, but how to keep it and how to grow it. You've heard me say it time and again. You make money during the day, you build wealth in your sleep. Making money during the day is what's called making a living. That's literally what it's called, making a living, but it's not making a life. It will run out. When the checks stop, the money will run out, right? So I need for you to be in a situation where you can make a living and a life. Make money during the day, build wealth in your sleep, which means you need assets, and those assets cannot be on your ASS. Okay. Alex Rodriguez did the same thing, basically following Magic's model, and he also has made more. Well, I'm sorry, I'm not saying he made more off the court than on. I know his net worth exceeds what he made on the court, but he made a lot of money on the court. But he did extremely well for himself in real estate, primarily the business that I'm also in. And I know him enough to, what he's told me personally is that he literally modeled Magic Johnson. When going into business, endorsement deals, etc., is what Magic and Alex Rodriguez did in real estate for Alex. The minimum wage in 1970 in professional sports was about $14,000. So this money really ran up. The average salary of a Major League Baseball player in 1967-ish was about $19,000. By 2012, it was $3.2 million. So that's enough to get anybody's eyes big as turnips, right? So I understand why people floss. I understand why people get sort of carried away by all this. You got a 20-year-old player who, maybe broke, so he's so poor, can't afford the OR, just P-O. I understand. You get some money, you go from not having $20,000 and now you got $20 million. You're probably gonna go cray-cray the first year. I get it, but have some cray-cray money, and then set your life straight. Read this book. Understand the tax man's gonna take their piece. Understand everybody wants to buy their mother a house and a car, and a truck for their dad. That's like the playbook for aspiration, and you should, all right. But you need to budget these things into categories, and don't go crazy. And there's the bling factor, and then there's a posse factor. All the folks that you want to take from the hood with you to success, do not do that. That will make you broke. Don't let guilt. I mean, you're not responsible for everybody in the neighborhood and whether they did well or not. It's your hustling on that court. That doesn't mean you're selfish and don't support people, but don't hire them as employees. Call it what it is: philanthropy, right? Have a little philanthropic charity fund, and when people have an emergency under certain criteria, they can tap it once a year, and that's it. But really help set people up in business. Give them a hand up, not a handout. Send them to college, right? Send them to trade school. But don't just put them on your payroll, because when your money runs out, they still want their paycheck and they can't give you anything. You've given them money, they can't give you money in return. But I'm getting ahead of myself, way ahead of myself. You can see how passionate I am about this topic. The average NBA salary in 1984 was about $300,000, and by 2010, it averaged about $5 million. Michael Vick, here's another one for you. Again, a really smart guy, I'm told. Of course, very talented. $100 million contract. He went bankrupt. His so-called financial advisor was convicted for running a Ponzi scheme out of her home. And then after that, another one was convicted of running a Ponzi, not a Ponzi scheme, but having fraudulent transactions on Michael's dime. So you've heard about the stuff that got the news, but you probably didn't hear that two financial advisors of his robbed him right in front of him. The people who manage his own money. I manage my own money. I encourage you to manage yours, right? You make it, manage it. Do not say, oh, I'm not interested in that. No, you want to do all the boring stuff about who, what, where, and when about your money. You want to do that yourself. You can have advisors and all that stuff, but you want to count your own money. Bart Scott cashed his first NFL check at a check casher. He said they laughed at him when he did it. These are not my words. These are the players' words. So I'm not trying to humiliate anybody. I actually thank them for being so honest so that you can understand that this game is serious, because a lot of these guys never recovered. There was the $1 million checks, the $5 million checks, the $500,000 signing bonuses, the $10 million contract, whatever it was. That was it. That was the most money they were going to ever see in their life. And when it left, it was gone. Money has velocity. Rich comes from a contract, like the contracts I'm talking about here. And that money comes in and through your hands. It has velocity. It's going to go somewhere. And it's either going to go to appreciating assets or depreciating assets, or no asset at all, just out the door, right? And when it's gone, and you can't get it back. Magic Johnson did the first big shoe deal was Magic Johnson. He did a $2.5 million shoe deal over 5 years, and Shaq did a $3 million shoe deal over several years, and Tiger Woods did a $40 million shoe deal over 5 years, getting off the court money. Very smart. LeBron ultimately did it in 2003. This is 2003 now. Did a $90 million shoe deal with Nike. Akin to becoming becoming a CEO of a corporation before you're ready to do the job. And some people navigate that, and some people they just lose their everlasting mind and never. And by the time they wake up from the dream, or the party, or both, it's a nightmare. The money's gone, and the friends are gone. So-called friends are gone. The ladies are gone. Everything's gone except the bills, which last forever. LeBron James is a great example of somebody who understood he was a corporation and responded accordingly. Didn't make emotional decisions, as best I can tell. Made passionate decisions, and intelligent ones, and thoughtful ones. And his story is still being told. Of course, we all know Magic. The Air Jordans. I'm sorry, and what he did, and the fact that he actually got ownership in the brand he had created. So he's going to get that money. I believe it's 5% of all sales for his brand for the rest of his life, for the rest of the brand's life. Brilliant. Leon Searcy, if I'm saying that right, Searcy, an NFL pro, said he was in a car with a jewelry guy, and the jewelry guy was in the back seat. He was in the car, and he had given the jewelry guy $50,000 for some jewelry, which probably was not worth more than $8,000, I might add. Try to sell it back to the jeweler, and they will buy it for a fraction of what they sold it to you. Anyway, there's another NFL player in the back seat who was trying to outdo Leon, and he wrote a check right on the spot for $250,000 and handed it to the jeweler. The only person that was smart in that car was a jeweler. That jeweler walked off with $300,000, and probably the real cost of goods sold for him was probably $20,000. Less than 10% of the money that he collected for this custom, not all that valuable jewelry that blinged and singed, but did not ring the bell at the bank account or the asset vault at the end of the day. Making it rain at strip clubs. This is legend with pro athletes. You know, most people start with $1, $2. These folks, found it as a source of pride and a sense of their own importance to be able to throw $100 bills. They still do this. It was a way for them to distinguish themselves amongst themselves and from the average Joe at the club. And girls would come into the locker rooms, I'm told, and they would sell custom suit packages. Now, they made sure that there were ladies doing the selling. The custom suit packages for a suit and some shoes and a tie. I'm going to say a raggedy tie and some worn out shoes and a not so valuable fabric of these suits was $15,000. This was, by the way, this is years ago. $15,000. And the Grand Slam package in the baseball locker room, the Grand Slam package of 3 to 4 suits, wow, was $50,000. I just can't hold it together. Just robbing you in broad daylight. By the way, the locker rooms are supposed to be off limits, so let's put that aside. Evander Holyfield bought a 100-acre property near where our home is for our family property in greater Atlanta. Bought 100 acres and built a 50,000 square foot home. Yes, I said that right. 50,000 square feet home with 2 bowling alleys. Why wasn't one bowling alley enough? 109 rooms, I believe it was. And I'm going to come back to this part of the story in a minute, so hold on to that. Now, of course, Evander was a boxer, so that's another sport, and he made a mint boxing. And when you think about these boxers today, and there's one in Las Vegas who I've said is going to have very serious problems if he keeps taking a jet for himself and a jet for his girls and another jet for his friends, private jets flying around the world. I don't care how much money you make, you can go broke. People say, oh, there's no way he's going to go broke. Yeah, he wears one pair of shoes and then tosses it. No, he's going to go broke, right? And here's a great example, or a bad example, really, Evander Holyfield. NFL players spend the most money because, what I'm told, because no one see them under their helmet. So they sort of go out of their way to floss. And so they're the ones who really make it rain and write the checks in the clubs and do the bottle service and all that stuff. Pro golfer John Daly, who is Caucasian for the purpose of making sure that everybody knows that the pain is equally distributed here, lost $50 million gambling. Million. Charles Barkley said he lost $10 million gambling. Charles was smart enough to be multi-talented. He's still working to this very day off the court. He's extremely valuable, extremely, has a net worth and a brand. So he can, I guess, afford to lose that $10 million. But I know it hurts. $10 million, I don't care how much money you make. It's a lot of moolah. Keith McCants of the NFL, somebody I want you to do some research on. Andre Rison, R-I-S-O-N, of the NFL, somebody I'm going to come back to this story. This is somebody you might recall had the hip-hop girlfriend, and they burned down his house in Atlanta. Hold on to that story. We're going to come back to that. Contracts. NBA and baseball contracts are guaranteed. You may not know, those who want to be football players, and again, I'm not discouraging you. I want you to pursue your dreams. NFL contracts are not guaranteed. Only the signing bonus is guaranteed. Now, there's of course exceptions to all these rules, but generally speaking, that contract is not guaranteed. Worse, athletes pay the top tax bracket, while a hedge fund manager or a real estate entrepreneur pays 20% or less, which is called capital gains tax. Even less because they've got a big corporation and tax people and lawyers who are working to figure out this deduction and this tax write-off and that. So a hedge fund manager, a private equity person, a banker, a financier, a real estate person, an entrepreneur like me has staff people and professionals who are working all the time for them to maximize their tax benefits under the law, where these players are just a corporation of one. Again, their CEO, before they're prepared to be one, they're writing a check at the highest tax bracket, and you may not know, you may end up paying taxes in multiple states and taxing districts because you're getting paid every week and you're baby taxed based on the place you're playing. Isn't that crazy? Darryl Strawberry went to prison for not paying taxes. Yeah. I'd rather owe my mother, God rest her soul, than owe the IRS. I mean, that's not something to play with. The gangster Al Capone did not go down because of murder and mayhem. He went down because of tax evasion. Do not play with the IRS, and don't be angry about it. You know, you made the money. Be happy to pay taxes. I mean, you made a lot of money. It means you're doing extraordinarily well. You just want to make sure you're maximizing the legally available tax benefits to you, which means you need professionals that you can trust, who are credentialed and have good unimpeachable credentials that can give you great tax advice around allowable deductions and things like that. In the NFL, you are paid over a 6-month period, and you're paid on a pro rata period over that 6 months. You've got to then budget yourself for the rest of that year so the money will last. Literally, it's paycheck to paycheck with a bunch of zeros next to it. So you get paid for 6 months, and now you got to self-manage yourself for 6 months. Imagine how tough that is for somebody who's newly rich and thinks the money's going to last forever. Des Bryant, D-E-Z, Des Bryant once picked up a $56,000 bill at a restaurant. I just can't imagine. When I get a $1,000 bill sponsoring folks, and I've done very well. I mean, I got an attitude, right? A $1,000 bill. I still remember every time I paid a big bill at a restaurant. This dude paid $56,000 at a restaurant. And if you plus it up on the taxes, that means that was a $110,000 check before he paid taxes. So it was $110,000 for earnings, right? But once you and then you pay taxes on that because you're the highest tax bracket. So the net was $56,000 for a meal that's going to go away. You'll never see it again. He went broke. Here's some bad business deals or bad businesses that a lot of athletes, for some reason, seem to be attracted to, like magnet to metal, car washes, stripper pole businesses inside of houses. Don't ask me about this. I don't know, but people who think that portable stripper pole businesses or people wanting to put stripper poles in their houses is a big business, and that's athletes have done that. Restaurants. There's nothing wrong with restaurants and clubs, but they're cash businesses. You got to be there. You can't play, and you can't sample your own product, right? You can't be eating up all the food and drinking up all the drinks. It has to be serious business. But a lot of these things are just socially attractive to athletes. Car washes, strip clubs, financing movies, financing record labels. You may have heard on my trending topic, this guy, dude Antonio Brown, who just went bust. What's his big comeback? He's got music coming out this summer. Hasn't he paid attention to any facts that are out there for anybody to see? That is a really bad move after you just filed bankruptcy. But he doesn't listen. Because the information's out there if you really want to know. Could call me. I'd be happy to talk to him for free. I don't want anything from anybody. I'm good. This is free, by the way, to you. About on average, it's estimated that 1 out of every 40 business ideas, will work. So what's the chances that your cousin Pookie then, or cousin Bam Bam, is going to have a great business idea? And when you ask them where's the business plan, and they say what's that, that should be a great signal that it's a bad business idea, and you should run as fast as you can. Family and friends are the worst. Yes, I said it. All of a sudden, everybody wants to be your friend when you're rich and you're wealthy. And I really know this. And it's heartbreaking, the stuff that people will bring to your doorstep once you've made a little bit of money. It's heartbreaking. You just feel used in a slot machine and exhausted. And you cannot just go into this feeling like you got to take the entire neighborhood with you, or you will go broke. You can help people, but give them a hand up, not a handout. One mother was upset with her son because he was not doing what she wanted him to do financially. So he became a pro, and she got so upset, she gave him a bill for $25,000 at his party to celebrate his contract. She gave him a bill for $25,000 for raising him. No, I'm not kidding. That's completely serious. And it's very sad. Money changes people. I've seen it. My mother had this brilliant thing she did in her will when she passed away. Juanita Smith, God rest her soul. She worked an hourly job for 32 years. Juanita Smith did a great job and had a net worth, cumulatively with all this. Sort of add up the money she gave for different family members to do things, buy homes, whatever, about $1 million net worth. And she said in her will, there was I call a poison pill clause that said anybody who challenges his will be cut out of it. Mom was gangster. I will be doing the same thing. I encourage you to have a will, first of all. And yes, do the same thing. This is your intention. You made the money. No one has a right to tell you how to spend it or how to allocate it. It is your, as long as you're in your right mind, it's your choice. And anybody who challenges that will on the real after you're gone gets cut out of it. Bye, Felicia. Another player had 60 mobile phone numbers assigned to him from the phone company. The only problem was he only had one phone. I'll let you figure the rest of that out. People were just taking advantage of him, and he was paying the bill. He had 6 homes. He only lived in one, but the other 5 homes were all his posse to crash. Now, what would they have done crash at, to live at, to hang out when they weren't going to, when he was playing on the field, they were playing at the club or wherever. Why can't these people go to work? What were they doing before it became a pro athlete? Again, you cannot carry everybody into their nirvana. It's a dream. They're going to wake up, and it's not going to be real. And you're going to wake up, it's going to be a nightmare. Former #1 tennis player in the world, Sanchez Vicario, lost all $60 million of her fortune to her parents. The photo you see of them is parents kissing them on her in the cheek, both cheeks. It's so loving, so sweet. Yeah, while they had their hands in her pocket and took every dime she had. She's broke. There was something called the baller alert. Yes, I said that. And it alerted women that when ballers, basketball players, were going from the courts to a club or wherever, the women would get, and there were 7,000 women on this list, would get a text message of where to show up. Okay, I won't go any more on that. Child support drama. Holyfield had to pay for child support for 11 children from 9 women. This is an absolute way to go, bro. You got to take care of these children for 18 years. Your career will last 3 years, 5 years, maximum 10 years, on average, 3 to 5 years. Where's this money coming from of $50,000, $30,000, $20,000, $80,000, $100,000 a month for child support payments? That's not including your other bills. How's that sustainable? And you can't just turn it off. These are real live people. This is a relationship you created, a life you brought in this world, and you're responsible for it. Him or her, or both. Holyfield had 11 children from 9 women. Travis Henry from the NFL owed $17,000 per month, in child support for 9 children from 9 women. He could not pay, went broke. NFL has the biggest injuries, highest pay, and the shortest career. Kosar, another player, got a 7-year, $26 million contract. Yay! A few weeks later, he got a $20,000 see you later from the Cleveland team that he had signed with. Something happened. They could let him go. I told you, NFL contracts basically are a version of at will. Again, this is great things. I'm not down in the NFL. I partner with the NFL. I know a lot of people who've done extraordinarily well of NFL players, but that's because they looked after their money and they knew the contracts they signed, and they didn't play around with this opportunity. They treated it like it was, which is a once in a lifetime gift. Terrell Owens, NFL star, went from rich to zero. Major League Baseball player Lenny Dykstra went from being worth $58 million to a bank account of $50,000. What's this $50,000 number? Antonio Brown, same thing, $50,000 in assets. He had $31 million in assets at one point. In his bankruptcy filing, he had $50,000. And by the way, he went to prison. NFL star Warren Sapp, dead broke. Major League Baseball star Curt Schilling put $35 million into a video game business. You see a trend here? It's like adult kids, right? Yeah, it's fine. These are toys, but you can't invest all your money in a toy. Where's the real estate? Where's the where's the accounting business or the law firm you started up, or a franchise, something with a proven business plan, 20 McDonald's that you want to own, or Burger Kings, or whatever, right? I mean, anyway, you know where this story is going. He put $35 million in a video game business, ended up upside down, $50 million broke. He had $22 million in assets and owed $151 million. Latrice Sprewell earned $100 million and famously turned down a $21 million extension, saying, quote, he had a family to feed. This is almost as bad as Antonio Brown. Maybe worse. It's maybe worse, actually. He actually said he turned down a $21 million contract extension because he, quote, had a family to feed. He went broke. $110 million made in 15 NBA seasons with Antonio Walker, and he's working through trying to come back right now. Allen Iverson squandered $200 million in his NBA career. This is eye-watering. These are eye-piercing numbers. $200 million. Now, I told you where the career and numbers started and how they racked up. So when Reggie Jackson, my brother Reggie, when he was coming up, it was not the biggest. That wasn't the time when the biggest paychecks were coming through. And my brother, not my brother, but my friend Billy Aaron, her late husband Hank Aaron, the home run king, he didn't make a fortune in baseball coming up, but he made a fortune in business, owning BMW dealerships and doing endorsement deals and doing business deals. I mean, just brilliant as a businessman. They all understood this was a shot to turn an income into an asset. A temporary moment into a career of lifetime sustainability and quality of life. I'll get to what to do here in a moment. NFL players it's common, they sell their Super Bowl rings when they get in trouble. You can go on the auction networks and eBay and see Super Bowl rings for sale. Mark Brunell in 2011 lost $50 million. Remember that story I told you about Holyfield, who has a house near our home? Well, it was 100 acres. He lost it. He owed $12 million at the time. 109-room home worth at the time $9 million. I think he ended up selling it under distress for $5 million to a rapper who has it now, and I hope that he is managing his affairs properly. He seemed to be flossing too, but I'm not gonna get into. This is professional sports. I don't know his story, right? So I wish him well. Leon Searcy retired from the NFL in 2002. After 10 years, he's a sales rep for a software company today. After 10 years. What I want you to do is take 5 years worth of income and figure out how you're going to live on it for 50 years. So let me give you a quick investment 101 situation. If you put $2.5 million in the bank and it gets 10% average return from the stock market, and when you have a pie here of what to do with money, private equity on Wall Street means something different than private equity on your street. A lot of these guys are doing private equity, meaning they're investing in the strip club and the restaurant, the thing I told you about, the silly stuff, private equity. That's where most of their money is going, to the things of their own ideas, most of which don't work because they're not financially literate, not because they're not smart people. They're obviously brilliantly talented, they're professional athletes, but that doesn't mean you're a great investor. All right, so I want you to have most of that in securities, publicly traded stocks on the stock market through proper brokerage firms with proper advisors in that regard. I use Rockefeller Capital Management, as in the Rockefeller family, but you can pick, but I still pay attention to everything, even though I've got somebody handling my business. I also use Wells Fargo and a few others, right? So I want you to have a securities portfolio. I want you to have real estate, right? I want you to have some stocks and bonds. You can also have some gold or whatever, if you want to do that. natural resources. And if you have a little, you want to take 10% and do some crypto or whatever, knock yourself out. But don't use your rent money. And it should be 5% for private equity, not 55%, not 85% for our hood version of private equity, which is pooking them in some crazy idea of a business that they want you to finance and they've never been a business person in their life. So if you have $2.5 million, that'll return about $250,000 a year, which should be enough for most people to live on in retirement. If you have $5 million that you've made, and again, these people made $30 million, $40 million, $50 million, $100 million contracts. I'm not talking about a lot of that money. $5 million of that, 10% return on your stock portfolio is $500,000 a year. That's a lot of passive income. That's a lot of money to chill once you're retired. And that's for the rest of your life. Never touch the principal. You want to live off the interest. Okay, everybody watching this, tell the young person who has short attention span to go to this point of the audio, the podcast, and just listen to what I just said to them. Take a principal amount of money. Do not touch it. Do not touch it. Put it in conservative, boring stock, right? The same stocks that my billionaire friends put it in, right? The biggest and best companies in America and the world that have proven track record for profitability, et cetera. And don't touch the principal. In fact, you want some stocks that have a dividend payment, meaning they pay a return on their earnings to their shareholders in a fee. But you should be able to get a 10%, 8 to 10% average return, 5, 8, something north of 5%. Bonds will give you that 5, 8, 10% return on your stock portfolio. And if you have $5 million in there, that's $500,000 a year. Create a budget to live on $500,000 a year for the rest of your life. And any other money you make outside of NFL, you got businesses, or you want to do some side thing or go work for a corporation, well, that's extra money. So I gave everybody a financial literacy lesson. Use that one if you want to go in professional sports. Never touch the principal. And you can always, if God forbid something goes wrong, you still have that money to draw on, even if the stock market goes crazy temporarily. One of the things the gentleman said on the documentary I thought was brilliant, and it's a goal without a plan is a wish. Yes, a goal without a plan is nothing more than a wish. Completely true. Private equity is probably a problem with these athletes, and I've already described that because it's hood equity. It's hood private equity, not institutional Wall Street private equity. And I'm not going to repeat that. I've already said it, but it's so important to get that one right. Like, you can't keep funding all your friends' crazy ideas, which are not proven and will fail. 30,000 here, 20,000 here. Everybody's got an idea. I got so nervous I dropped the ice cube holder. Everybody's got an idea, but they can't pay you back when the idea goes south of the border, can they? I'm sorry, man. I don't know what happened. I know what happened. You know what you're doing, and I paid for it. And now you want some more money to cover your bills. Here's some success stories. End on a positive note. Former NBA forward Jamal Mashburn owns several car dealerships and restaurants throughout Kentucky. He's doing extraordinarily well, long since retired. Winfred Tubbs is an entrepreneur and an investor doing extraordinarily well. Somebody told one of these guys, the gentleman I mentioned, Andre Rizon, his coach told him when he saw him spinning like it was going out of style, told him, one of these days don't make me pull up in my Cadillac and ask you to wash my car, meaning you've gone broke. He said, "Oh, that's never going to happen to me." And he remembers this great saying that somebody told him: "Live like a king for a year, or live like a prince forever." I want you to live like a prince forever. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, a prince is a great thing. If you lived like a prince and didn't know what a king looked like, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know the difference. You'd be completely happy. Live like a king for a year, or live like a prince forever. That's what I'm talking about. Make smart sexy again. We've been making dumb sexy for way too long. Dumbed down and celebrated it. It's time to make smart sexy again. Okay, let's end with Andre Rizon, and I'm not picking on him. Remember the guy, the guy whose girlfriend burned down his house? I think by memory it was the singer who was his girlfriend. I believe it was Atlanta, but I'm sure you guys will correct me. Well, he filed bankruptcy in 2007. Here's the good news: he got sober in the brain, and he turned to college and got a degree, and he's all about living his best life now. So God bless you, man. Look, a saint is a sinner that got up. We're all angels with dirty faces. A rainbow, you cannot have a rainbow without a storm first. I applaud your comeback. God bless you. As many people have not. I'm proposing the counselors, a group of leaders from communities that are underserved in business and commerce and finance and real estate, in faith. I've got a whole list of these folks that I trust that don't need the money from these athletes. We don't need a check. Former professional athletes like Reggie Jackson, my man Bishop T.D. Jakes, financiers, Don Peoples, all these people, the Russell family, these folks that I know who could become really good role models and mentors, Grant Hill, there's so many to these athletes, and we don't want a thing. We just want them to succeed. So I'm going to put together this group called the Counselors, and start trying to have conversations around financial literacy. Financial literacy is the civil rights issue of this generation. If you don't know better, you cannot do better. And to quote Ambassador Andrew Young, to live in a system of free enterprise and not to understand the rules of free enterprise must be the very definition of slavery. Let's know better so we do better. This is John Hope Bryant. I'm out. This is the Black Effect Network on iHeartRadio. This is Money and Wealth.